Okay. Thank you for the introduction. Maybe you should do the presentation. No, that was great. And I really feel that all the stuff you've been doing today, all the talks, all the movements that you've been doing really have staged a good groundwork for what I'm going to talk about today. Because I hate to break it to you, but you've already done yoga a few times today. So for those who maybe thought they'd never do it, sorry, you just did. But I'm very pleased to be here. I've been involved in the Parkinson Society in some way or another for over 5 years. And in Saskatoon, I've been running a chair yoga class specific for people with Parkinson's and movement disorders. So I'm really, really pleased and excited to be here. So I'm hoping I'll take a little bit of the stigma or distaste for yoga, make it more accessible to you all. So first, a brief little outline. I'll be introducing yoga as a science and as a system, and explain really what it is, because yoga is really in right now, and you might find they use the word yoga to sell cereal, yogurt, all kinds of things. So I'm going to explain what yoga is and discuss the mental and physical benefits and why it's being recommended along with other movement therapies for people of all disabilities, but also of all abilities. And then I'll discuss the current evidence to support this, because really research is driving the inclusion as yoga for a complementary therapy. So what is yoga? Yoga is an ancient science and system. It's not a religion, it's non-dogmatic, but it does target the entire being. So not just the physical, not just the mental, but the emotional aspects and all aspects of ourselves. So in that, some people who are maybe religious might bring that into their practice, but it's not something that we teach to. It's a system, it's a science, but we try to target the whole individual. And then the third point here is yoga integrates postures, breathing techniques, and mindfulness practices to help those with many physical and neurological diseases. So traditionally, the system is set up as 8 aspects of it, or 8 limbs. The first writings on yoga as a system are over 2,000 years old, and the language at that time was Sanskrit from India. So some of the names you'll see in brackets are just Sanskrit names, and I like to include that because I want to respect the origins of the practice and the science. So the first 2 things are just things to meditate on, some mantras or concepts to bring into your life for those that need maybe more direction. The third one, though, is the postures, and it's called asana in Sanskrit, but it's the postures. And the fourth one is the breathing exercises, pranayama. And the last few there are just aspects that include more mindfulness techniques. And I'll get into those as we go. But if you see the last point, samadhi, or the union. So some people think of that as union with the divine, if that makes sense to them. Others think it's a feeling of bliss or contentment. But there was a question early on about, do we target the mental when we exercise? In yoga, that's something we want to bring in and weave within the practice. So even if it's at the beginning, take a moment to think of someone or something that you're grateful for, or take a moment to, think of something positive in your life, or that feeling of acceptance of where we are today. We try to bring moments of that because that is part of us as beings. So another thing, or just a way to imagine this, is in yoga they view individuals as layers. So the science was set up not just to tackle the physical, the first one, the most external, but it was also to target that energetic level, the energy levels. You notice if maybe you're feeling depressed or down, you have less energy. After you do some dancing with Fran, maybe you have some more energy. Did you notice in yourself you couldn't help but smile while you were doing that? Or was it just me in the back having a laugh back there? It feels good to move and to breathe with movement. So it does affect our whole layer, not just our physical. And then the third is the mental. And then the last 2 is the deeper layers are this concept of intuition or wisdom. And the last one is trying to discover that feeling of bliss or contentment. Are we walking around floating on a cloud? No. But can there be moments, whether fleeting, within an exercise session where we feel good? I hope so. And that's what we try to take away in the class. So just to make sure we're on the same page with this, I won't talk about the stats, I think we're all aware of that, but I wanted to highlight a few things that yoga specifically has been shown in research to help with. And this is with dopamine production and expression. So you may be, has anybody looked at this Parkinson's disease manual? I wasn't anticipating plugging this, but I was looking through it in the back there. And if you go to page 34, and if you have it handy, you'll notice there is somebody doing Tai Chi, and if you go from page 34 to 38, you'll see that they're recommending movement type therapies. And the reason and the research, which I'll get into, which supports this, is it helps with the relaxation response, and meditation specifically helps with increasing dopamine production. So dopamine is the lack of dopamine is what creates our movement difficulties in Parkinson's. And so that's one of the main things that yoga has been shown to improve upon more than other forms of exercise. And those other points I think are not new to anybody. So going right into it now, the benefits of yoga. So similar to exercise, yoga will improve blood circulation. Just for the very fact of movement, just like exercise. But with the emphasis on breath control, it also increases oxygen levels throughout the body, and increasing blood circulation as a result. It improves balance. Some of the poses or the exercises you did today focused a lot on that extension, the lifting the arms up. That's to help with posture. And as Jessica mentioned, when our posture starts to become this way, our mass starts to disperse outside of our base of support. So in targeting the posture, we can improve our balance. And that's one of the main goals. So we try to work against this forward positioning, and a lot of the inherent poses and postures in yoga are all driven to correct and improve posture. We also do, has anybody heard of tree pose? It's probably the most well-known yoga pose out there. So we do a lot of balance, standing balance poses and exercises. But also it can improve, sorry, this writing's small for me, alertness of the mind. And this is through aspects of mindfulness and through meditation that's incorporated in the practice. So in doing that, it can sharpen your focus by increasing your alertness, and they've shown actually that there's been some cognitive improvements as well. It improves muscle strength and endurance, similar to other physical activities. It also helps one cope with stress. And the main factor of yoga that helps cope with stress is we want the tools that you take on the mat to take off the mat. So we really try to give a lot of repetition in breath control, in ways to help manage rigidity and freezing episodes. Because those episodes happen even during the class. So we use it as an opportunity, okay, can you get control of your breath? Yes, I can get control of my breath. Then you can decrease the stress response, improve movement quality. And the goal of that is to be able to regulate that when you need it outside in life. So whether you're at a public place or grocery store, because those areas, they're more stressful. And if the stress of leaving the home starts to become the barrier from leaving the home, then we really want to work on those before it gets to that point. So working on strategies through that to reduce stress. Improves lung capacity. An interesting point here for the nerds out there is there was a study done at the U of S where they looked at the cardiac, or the VO2, somebody's lung capacity in runners versus in people who did a certain type of yoga that's more fast-paced. And they actually found that it was similar or even slightly improved in individuals doing yoga. Because of the breath work we do with breath expansion. So you become really efficient with every breath. It improves motor functioning and control. Similar to exercise, like Jessica mentioned, has that same improvement. And also, though, yoga is similar to the improvements you see in dance. So because it's a new movement to many people, you have to make new neural pathways. So anytime you learn something new and you become free in that movement, in a place where you're not stressed, your nervous system can have the maximum capacity for plasticity or for adaptation and finding new ways to do the same movement. Improve sleep by improving our hormonal expression, so we can get out of that stress response and into more of a relaxation response. And then, of course, one of the main things is it improves muscle rigidity by working on flexibility. So there's a lot of points there, and now I'm going to go into those, not in more depth, but just highlight why yoga can do those things. The first one is the breath control, or it's called in Sanskrit pranayama. So we're going to do, these are some of the names, and maybe you're getting scared already. But I'll show you the one we focus on in the class. It's Ujjayi breathing. And so I hope nobody had the broccoli soup, because you're about to smell your own breath here. But bring your hand up in front of your face like so. Just humor me. Sit nice and tall. Yeah, I know, if people are starting to slouch. Wake up on me. Okay, so hand in front of your face. Take a deep breath in. And on the breath out, I want you to fog the glass. Let's try that again. Deep breath in. And fog the glass. A little bit louder. One more time. Deep breath in. Fog the glass. So the same muscles that you use to control the whisper is the same muscles that we use to control this breath. So that you just did a yoga breathing exercise. So we do that to help improve the strength of those muscles that control the vocal cords. Yes, this posture will affect swallowing in that, so we're already working on posture, and then we try and strengthen these muscles of the vocal cords. So we may just do a few of those breaths in the class, and sometimes we try and get people to move throughout the class with that breath, but it can be challenging sometimes. So that's one of the things that we target. The other aspect is meditation, and this can be done in a separate session, but I like to call our classes a moving meditation. And when you think of meditation, what do you think of? Yeah, this, right? You think, probably all these stereotypical things we think of, right? Meditation can come in all types of forms. It can come in a single pointed focus. So whether you're doing a walking meditation, not where you're thinking about your grocery list, but you're really in the moment, observing what's around you. It can be when you're knitting, if you're really into and focused on what you're doing. And some of the tools we try to foster in the class is ways for you to do this on your own. We build it into the class through talking about body scans. So for example, if you can sit up nice and tall and place your hands wherever it's comfortable, maybe on the chair or on your lap. And I invite you just to close your eyes and just let your shoulders relax down. And if you think they're relaxed, let them go a little bit more. Good. And then start to notice how you're breathing. Maybe it's shallow in the upper chest. Maybe you can breathe a little deeper towards the belly. Feel the belly lift on the inhale and draw in on the exhale. Start to become aware of even the temperature in the room, whether you're cold or whether you're a little warm. And then you can open your eyes. So that is a form of meditation, is becoming attuned to the processes in your body. And maybe you even feel a little bit more relaxed, or maybe you're really annoyed with the sound of my voice. But we do little cues like that to try and help people practice this muscle of meditation. It takes practice. I had somebody come to me once as a client saying, like, I'm trying, and I'm just not getting there. And once we took out the getting there part, he realized meditation is the process of meditating. So in trying to do it, you're doing it, and you're getting the benefits from it. So breathing techniques is a way to help relax, obviously taking a few deep breaths, some guided imagery, and the body scan like we just did there. But the research that has proved the benefits of it, yes, the dopamine release, but also through this process of interoception. So anything that's mindfulness, meditation based, is drawing your attention to this interoception concept. So interoception is a sense just like taste and smell is. We talk about it more in the concepts of kids with autism or Asperger's when this is affected, but it's affected in all of us to a certain extent when we lose that connection to the internal processes of the body. So interoception is knowing when you're hungry, knowing when you have to go to the bathroom, knowing when you're hot, when you're cold. It's connecting back to the sensations in your body. And in doing that, connecting to your body, you become more aware of what you need. And that's really the key to the yoga practice, I believe, is that getting in touch, in tune with your body, self-awareness, knowing when you need help, knowing when you're off balance, knowing when you're getting stressed and you need to take a deep breath before the freezing happens, getting practice in knowing yourself. So some of the benefits of meditation we've touched on already in other presentations, but also in what I've already spoken to. But the biggest one is muscle relaxation and reducing the heart rate, yes, of course, lowering blood pressure, yes, but the most important is stimulates the release of dopamine. And meditation is something you can do anywhere. You can be sitting in the waiting room at the doctor's office, which is usually a little bit of a time, and you could be meditating and no one knows that you're doing it, but you're getting the benefits from it. So it also, I mean, a byproduct is maybe we're a bit more compassionate and tolerant to other people, which maybe we could use these days, and greater control of your feelings and your emotions. So how does breath control and meditation influence the neurological system? So I'm going to show a slide that might seem very academic, but I'll break it down, and there's a key point I want you to take away here. So we know we have the central nervous system. So the central nervous system is the brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system is everything else. And we have this, under the motor neurons, we have this involuntary, this automatic nervous system that controls our automatic processes of the body. And then we have the voluntary nervous system. Now, a lot of these involuntary automatic processes in the body start to break down when we have Parkinson's and we start to lose control of those. So how do we influence those? Well, the amazing and great thing is we can influence and unlock the key to communicating to all these systems by controlling our breath. So the respiratory diaphragm is the only muscle that is both involuntarily and voluntarily controlled. So you can breathe when you're not thinking about breathing, but then if I ask you to take a deeper breath, you can do that. And in doing so, the breath is the key to unlocking these systems and the communication between these systems. So if you can get really good at controlling your breath, you can be really good at managing a lot of your symptoms. Let's do a few deep breaths now. Okay, so just find some space. We've done this a lot today, but find some space for your arms out to the sides. And we're going to integrate movement with breath, which is yoga. So sit nice and tall. Place your hands beside you. And I want you to try and reach your hands for the floor, and at the same time try to reach your head for the sky. So you have this equal and opposite pull. Maybe you even feel your neck getting longer. Okay, now exhale all your air. Then inhale, reach your arms up. Big movements. Inhale, look up. Exhale, release your arms down. Good, let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, big movements, reach. Exhale, release your arms down. 1 more time. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, release the arms. Good. And then relax. So if you take anything away from my presentation, do that twice a day. 3 deep breaths with your arms wide. It'll get you centered, and it will also give you the postural benefits and that deep breathing benefit. Okay, So what all this represents, the breathing exercises, meditation, is it helps you with the relaxation response, which is what's going to help you manage your Parkinson's disease symptoms. So I won't go into that, we already mentioned these. And the stress response, I don't need to highlight. It's the opposite of everything that the relaxation response does, but it's everything we want to avoid. So getting into now the postures. So in the class, we do it both for people that are able to stand up and use the chair for support, but also for people that are going to be sitting. So in the class, we often have probably 50-50. Half the class is doing everything sitting, and half the class is doing things in standing. So here is just a picture of me doing the sun salutation with the chair. And I recommend doing down dog with the hands, if you can, on the seat, just so that it's a bit more stable. And then you're welcome to bend your knees too if you'd like to do that. So, I'm sorry, can we try this once? So turn the chair to face you. Have the seat facing you there. And you're welcome to do this in sitting as well. So for those going to be doing it in sitting, you can stay in sitting. But for those in standing, make sure you have a bit of room here. Okay, so stand just in front of the seat, have the seat facing you. Like so. Okay, and otherwise you can do this in sitting too. So for those in standing, let's take a breath in, reach your arms up, look up to your hands. And on the exhale, bend your knees, place your hands to the chair, and step back into downward facing dog. So bend your knees, straighten your arms, try to make your spine as long as you can. Good, then look to your hands, bend your knees, and step your feet to the chair. Then inhale, rise up, reach your arms up, look up. And exhale, release your arms down. Good. You just did a sun salutation. Okay, you're probably like, what is that? It's a yoga sequence. So, good job. Okay, you can have a seat again. So another way you can do that in sitting is what you did with Fran during the movements here. So that's the same movements as the sun salutation in standing. So we're really making it accessible for everybody. Some of the other postures we'll do is, again, movements you've done already today. Just even doing some of these helps to target that thoracic area that really starts to round. So when you get that kyphosis, so these movements really help to get that area moving and try to improve the posture. Yeah, so just raising your arms up over your head and then trying to go as tall as you can. That's, yeah. And it feels good, like it feels good in everybody, in that rotation. And in fact, I do this with people even in my classes that are able-bodied. We'll bring out the chair and do these movements. An example of some of the standing poses we'll do. So for those that are able to, we'll have people stand and do the warrior pose. But you can also do this in sitting, the warrior pose. And you're still getting that nice stretch and targeting the same areas in the body. And just to show, does anybody know Linda Remmer? Yeah. She used to do yoga with us before she moved, but she was a great advocate for exercise and for movement therapies. So this is her here doing the Warrior 2 in sitting. And this is some hooligan, no, it's my husband, doing the rest position. So for those that are able to, yes, I do help people get on and off the floor. So for some people, this is a scary thing, and I understand that definitely. From my physio background, when I was going to design a class for Parkinson's disease, I understood that falls are a reality. Obviously, we want to prevent them, but if you do fall, I want people to have the tools to know how to safely get up if they're able to. So that is something and a skill we try to teach for people that are interested and feel safe doing it. We learn how to get on and off the floor, and then for the relaxation portion of the class, they do it lying on the floor, either with their legs up on a chair or legs straight out. I find people with Parkinson's tend to have back pain, so the legs on the chair is more comfortable for your spine, for your back. But of course, we do the relaxation portion as well in sitting, with either the legs up or even just nice sitting relaxed. You don't have to try and sit tall, it's just relaxed, comfortable. I try to end every class for at least 7 to 10 minutes of a relaxation. We'll play music. Sometimes I'll do the guided meditation at that point. Sometimes people are snoring. That's okay. But really, my teachers always told me Shavasana, or the relaxation pose, is the most important pose of the class. Because when we think about from an energy conservation standpoint, we spend all this time warming up, working hard, because it's important to work hard, and then we need to relax and cool down. And after that relaxation stage, then people have the energy to get up and on with the rest of their day. And it's also a chance to squeeze in that meditation time. So we'll see if this plays.
I'm Linda Jean Remmer. I'll be 64 next year. And I was diagnosed with Parkinson's 4 years ago. I couldn't raise my arm above my head. So I was going to the gym, but I couldn't do some of the exercises. I couldn't run anymore. I'd almost fall off the treadmill. My gait had shortened up. I was having trouble with fine motor skills. My writing, I couldn't even read it anymore. I couldn't do up buttons. Couldn't really reach around to pull out my zipper, so I had to have help when I was getting dressed. And I often was on the radio, and I noticed that my voice, the volume, was decreasing. It seemed more of an effort to talk. So I had a doctor that I was seeing in Calgary. I was telling him the problems I was having, and he said, "I think you have Parkinson's." And of course, I didn't want to have Parkinson's, and I came back and went to my GP, and she said, "Oh, no, you don't have Parkinson's." And finally, by the time my doctor actually said, "Okay, we'll refer you," 9 months had gone by. So to here in Saskatoon, to get in to see a neurologist, it was going to be a 9-month wait. So I phoned the Mayo Clinic in the States, and they got on a waiting list, and they had me in there, December 31st, 2009. And within 1 day, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I had asked at the Mayo Clinic, like, what about exercise after I got the diagnosis? And they said, well, if you're up for it. But it wasn't like, yes, you need to exercise. So in the January, within a couple of weeks of being diagnosed, I started with yoga. And so within 6 months, I was at a point where I could go back to the gym. Most people don't know that I have Parkinson's at this point if I meet somebody for the first time.
So what advice would you give somebody who's just diagnosed and they're at square one?
Well, that there is hope. But first of all, take the medication and get yourself into an exercise program. Parkinson's can be aggressive, so we have to be aggressive back. It's like, it's like you're engaged in a battle and you want to win.
So it was kind of hard to hear at the beginning there, but she was just telling her story of diagnosis and how oftentimes, like many of you maybe, the process of getting the label, the diagnosis is a long process, and by that time, then your symptoms have progressed to a point where things are pretty far along. So this was a few years ago, and we've come a long way now with prescribing exercise, and research is really, a lot of money has gone into research looking at what forms of exercise, how much, and that's what I'm going to get into now. But push yourself, and then plan your day where you have rest. But it's important to exercise as often as you can and as much as you can tolerate. It may change from day to day, but staying active and short spurts more frequently throughout the day is better than one big day and then crashing for 2 days. And just like other forms of exercise, there's different forms of yoga. You could go to a yoga that's mainly relaxation and lying down, or you could go to a power class. So it's finding the right instructor who understands Parkinson's, or maybe finding the right resource that you can do at home if you don't have somebody that you trust and you know can teach. But an exercise program is key. So yoga is one of these mind-body movement therapies, similar to dance, Tai Chi, because it incorporates that mind-body connection, that awareness, that interoception. And so we see various benefits because of that, and research is demonstrating that. So I'll skip through these because I don't have much time. So how the intervention might work, like I've discussed, is I think that it helps increase the release of dopamine and, of course, muscle strengthening and balance, but it improves this neurophysiological regulation through the cerebral output. So that was in 1999. We know for sure that yoga improves motor function, and this is a pilot study to support that. But more importantly, I wanted to focus on, and I say, well, not more importantly, as important, is the psychosocial well-being. I was watching this TED Talk, this lady, you know, Facebook has all these things you should watch. And there's this TED Talk, and this lady was talking about what were the keys to longevity, to a long life, but a happy life. And I thought exercise would be up there, and it was within the top 10. And then there was not smoking, which I thought would be higher. But the top two were a sense of purpose and social interaction, or a vibrant social life. So that's another reason, and that's one of the reasons actually that for exercise groups and yoga programs have been shown to improve mental health and quality of life, is through that social community interaction. And it's easier, there's less barriers when you're going to a place where people are also going through the same thing. So I found with our class that we've been doing for over 5 years, it really has become a community. People come early because, you know, the abilities bus often drops off people like an hour or ahead sometimes. They come early, stay late. We have, you know, we support each other, their birthdays, things like that. So it really becomes a fun time. Yes, we do yoga, but it's really connecting with each other. So we know those are some of the quality of life measures that have shown the increase, but like other forms of exercise, power yoga for Parkinson's disease has been shown to have a greater improvement in physical benefits. So again, that pushing ourselves. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to provide an opportunity for people with movement disorders to be able to safely push themselves so they can have those benefits of practicing on the edge without being unsafe. And finally, this is a study that I was a part of in 2015, and we found exactly what these other studies have demonstrated, that yoga improved balance, fatigue, quality of life, improved measures of depression and pain, more than control group, and in some cases more than the exercise group alone. So the research is really supporting a lot of these exercise and yoga programs. And also, I was really pleased to hear that it's also in your manual. So the research is out there, so now it's just getting the services to pick up to meet the needs. So if you are in Saskatoon, I do provide a chair yoga class here. You can come talk to me at the end, I can let you know. And then I also do physical therapy services, and Nomad Therapies does home visits as well. I know there's a talk about home assessments and things like that. So, and we can do one-on-one stuff, and I can make a home program for you to do at home if you don't have services near you. Or just talk to me and we can see a resource that might work for you if you're not in a big center where there's these services provided to you. And here's my contact info. But I do want to say, starting where you're at, if you just start small, a few movements a day, but starting to integrate stuff into your everyday and making it a habit, you'll see improvements over time, much more than just going hard one day a week and then nothing outside of that. And I will bribe you to ask me a question. I have t-shirts at the back. I'm going to give you a t-shirt if you ask a question. So, any questions? Really? Okay, yeah. Well, sorry, they're doing the, sorry.
Do you have an XL t-shirt?
Yes, I do.
It's a question.
I'm not. Any other questions related to yoga? Yeah.
My question is, my husband has just been diagnosed. So he's farming and he does exercise like in my husband has just been diagnosed, so this is all kind of new to me, and I've learned a lot about exercise and stuff like that. So my question is, so he's still farming, he does a lot of walking and stuff like this, but I'm starting to learn that, so he's walking all day, he's exercising, chasing cows, doing a lot of stuff, but I'm starting to, it's kind of sounding like if you're not exercising like this, but just doing your general stuff, that may not be quite the targeted exercise that's going to help the right way. Am I reading this correctly?
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, definitely keep doing what he's doing in his day-to-day life, definitely. But you're right. If we don't do more of a purposefulness or more of this mindful, whatever you want to call it, focus type of exercise, then you will start to see more of a regression. So that's why I liked Linda's video, because she explains it really well. Like you're engaged in a battle and you want to win. And so you have to go above and beyond the normal day-to-day. In able-bodied individuals, the day-to-day is enough to keep you physically active, but when you have a degenerative disease, you have to go above and beyond that to create that those new neural pathways and adaptations. So things that are concentrated in improving the posture and working against, because when he's doing things, he's probably going into the path of least resistance. Yeah, as opposed to working on the big movements. And what feels normal is this. And that's where that awareness piece is really challenging. Someone mentioned looking at a mirror, being in a class where somebody can give you that feedback. So it's relearning how to move. So yes, it does take extra practice. Okay, that's one t-shirt.
The those of us that are from out of the city and in rural areas, we don't always have access to any of these programs, which sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
But I do have the yoga tape from the meeting here 2 years ago. Would that incorporated with some walking and other exercise be as good as? I mean, it's always great to go in a class, but I can't always get to it.
Yeah, and that's really a challenge, is services to areas that are really underserved. I think arming yourself with as many resources as you can, and maybe you have a contact in the city closest to you where you can do check-ins. And it's becoming more common to do even video chatting or video assessments or video support. But there's a resource that got me started, which is Yoga for Movement Disorders. And I believe, is this the DVD you're talking about? Or the similar? Yeah, and even if you're not finding something specific for Parkinson's, even doing a video, meditation video or a chair yoga video, as long as the movements are safe, then you'll get the benefits of the meditation, the big movements, and those other aspects. Yeah, it's kind of the best case scenario in that situation.
Hi, thanks. Can I just add something? We had quite a few of those DVDs and books at Parkinson Canada. Now that we have a dwindling supply, we thought we might just donate them to the public library system. And then you could go to your local library and you could take it out into the library loan, wherever you are in the province. Thanks.
Hi.
I have a question about just the whole weekend that's being based on movement.
Mm-hmm.
So how does one discern what type of exercise might be better for them? There's yoga, there's dance, there's
Yeah.
field house.
Yeah.
Can't do it all.
No, what I would do is choose the one that's fun and that fits. But choose the one that best fits, whether it's your enjoyment level, whether it's your timetable. because you're right, like in a perfect world, yes, we would do all of the things we're supposed to do. But I think starting somewhere and committing to one and being consistent. And then maybe you try sprinkle one in every once in a while. But I mean, and it's tough, you know, I know there's a lot of, well, it's not a bad thing, but when you're in a center like Saskatoon or Regina, you have access to the weight training, the programs that are on this day and this day, and sometimes those days don't line up. But I think just starting with committing to one and being consistent, that's the key.
And does Vangool, do you have access to the caregiver?
Like, sorry, I don't
If I
understand.
wanted to do a yoga practice.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, we oftentimes have the spouses come and join, and it's free for the caregiver. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, this is the last one. Okay, this is the last one, and then claim your shirts over there. I hope you have your. I hope I have your size.
If anxiety is one of your symptoms that you feel is one of your biggies, is yoga very good in that the relaxation part? Can I help you with that anxiety level?
Yeah, in fact, that's a lot of, okay, so I usually say this, people come to yoga for the physical benefits, but they stay for the mental health benefits. So yoga really does, because it targets that relaxation system, and also it gives you the tools. The same tools that help with anxiety were the same tools I was speaking to that help prevent a freezing episode or reduce stress. So yeah, it really can target those areas and gives you the tools to take away off the mat, I hope. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let's thank Adrianne.